Here goes. And good morning to anybody that's up and about. I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, so it's the afternoon now for me. So there's no excuses for people lying in bed. Nobody's on at the minute, so let's just wait until the audience picks up a little bit. Let's wait till some people jump on, and then I'll go through. Oh, here we go. 2 people watching. That's enough for me. If I got 2 people watching, I'm happy enough. Let me know in the comments that. Yeah, just share this everywhere. Get this shared everywhere this morning, because this is a big one. This is actually a really, really big stream, and I tell you why. I honestly think that a line in the sand has been drawn, and I don't know if there's a beach at Southampton. I'm sure there is. I don't think I've ever been to Southampton, but I would suggest anybody in the south of England, if you're in the south of England, can I humbly suggest that if you can get to Southampton on Sunday, you get there. If you've seen the footage, I'm not going to play it this morning, but if you've seen the footage of what happened last weekend in Southampton, patriots, not racists, not people who were attacking Muslims, patriots who are concerned about mass unchecked immigration, which incidentally affects every community and actually affects settled migrant communities probably as much as it affects settled indigenous communities. So for those thugs and yobs who went out to remonstrate and demonstrate against people who are actually probably looking after their best interests as well as everybody else's, was disgusting. And again, the vile abuse that was thrown at women and children from some of that mob, and they look like Muslims. I don't know if they were. They certainly look like Muslims. In fact, I'd say 100% they were Muslims. And for them to basically attack that peaceful march and the police to do nothing about it is scandalous. And of course, now a big call's gone out. The Antifa's put a call out. Other groups have put a call out to protest against a perfectly legitimate and peaceful protest. And that cannot be allowed to stand. And we can't, unfortunately, in the United Kingdom, look at that. We've got nearly 90 people at this time of the morning. Do you know what? Let me know in the comments if you want me to try and do a breakfast show. I've been thinking about this for ages. It was actually Jeff Taylor and his colleague Richard were talking about it ages ago. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. So I'm thinking about doing a breakfast show from 7 till 8. I'll probably not do every morning of the week, but let me know if you think a breakfast show is a good idea. Anyway, so this Sunday, a call's gone out for people to go to Southampton. And let me get this right. Let me just get this. I'll see if I can get this on screen, guys. Okay, just bear with me 2 seconds. Let's have a look. Okay, let me know you can see that, guys. Yeah, we can all see that, can't we? Okay, so here we go. Southampton Patriots. And I know the lads down there. Craig was a great help to me on the 13th. And he knows what he did. He gave me... I've got a loud voice, but it wasn't loud enough to do what I had to do. And he lent me his sound system twice to basically to try and get people where they should have been. Okay. So, and it's Craig that's doing this. Craig, well, I don't know if he's doing it, but Craig's part of the team down there. He's been putting videos out, and they're good lads. They're not bigots. They're not racists. They're just really good, patriotic people. Okay. So if you can get to Southampton, if you're on the south of England, please get to Southampton on Sunday. And you see it there, Sunday the 26th, 1 p.m. at the Highfield House Hotel. Now, I know Danny Tomo's pushed this out. Tommy's pushed this out. I think there needs to be a real massive show of show of numbers, a massive show of numbers. Because unfortunately, what we saw last week proves that certainly in Southampton, you cannot rely on the police to protect a demonstration from thugs. So, and this is the calculation that the police make, and I know they do this because they've told me when we're organising the Trafalgar Square demo. I said the cop says, "Look, what happens if we get some Antifa turn up?" And he says, "Well, then it comes down to numbers. If you've got the bigger numbers, we'll basically police the smaller problem." That's the doctrine. It's called numbers. And that's one of the problems that we've got in this country, because the left and the Islamists seem to be able to put hundreds of thousands of people or tens of thousands of people on the street very, very quickly. But the reality is, so can we. And we just have chosen not to do it. And we've chosen not to do it because obviously we do our big demos. We want everything to be peaceful. And if you do go on Sunday, and I think Danny said this, I'm sure Tommy said this as well. I haven't heard the whole of Tommy's video, but if you are going to go on Sunday to Southampton, keep it peaceful. Don't be provoked by the police or by Antifa or by this crowd of Muslims, whatever group they were. Don't be provoked by them. Keep our dignity. Stay peaceful. If you have 10,000 people there, 5,000 even, actually anything over 2,000, and they're gonna have a problem. Okay, nobody needs to get leery. Nobody needs to be pushing and shoving. You just stay respectful. You stay peaceful, and that's what we've always done. We've always done that. We've never lost our cool. We've never flown off the handle. We've stood against some absolute horrendous situations, and we've always kept our cool. So that's what everybody needs to do on Sunday. I won't be there. I'm going to say that now. I'm not going to be coming across to Southampton for this. I would love to, but the reality is cost and busyness and doing demos in Northern Ireland. I can't get there. But if anyone knows me, you know that if I had means to get there, I would get to Southampton on Sunday. So if you're in the south of England and you can get to Southampton, please get there. And I'll tell you why it's important. Okay. So, okay, the meeting at the Cowherd pub. Okay, so this here says Sunday, 1 p.m. Highfield House Hotel. Okay, then the march will take us from. Okay, the march will take us from the Cowherd's pub, the Avenue Lodge Road, and Portswood High Street, ending at High Road Hotel. Okay, right. Well, in that case, that's not what that says on that leaflet. Okay, come on, Southampton Patriots, get your leaflets better. Okay, so you need to be at the Cowherd's pub, according to what they just said in the comments. And again, I'll check with the lad I was chatting to. He doesn't want his name put out here. I'll check with the lad I was chatting to from the Southampton Patriots yesterday. So look. Okay, no, he hasn't got back to me. That doesn't matter. Okay, so if that's right, then okay, so the march will take us from the Cowherd's pub via the Avenue Lodge Road and Portswood High Street, ending at Highfield House Hotel. Okay, so Cowherd's pub. If you all know where that is, Cowherd's pub, and I'll put that in the comments down below as well. Once I get the whatchamacallit, I'll put it in the there you go, Denise. Thanks for that, Denise. Brilliant. So anyway, what I was saying was this. This is a line in the sand, and I'll tell you why it's a line in the sand. I don't mean that in a dramatic way, because the last thing we want is things to kick off. But what we do want to do is get lots of people on the pavement so that the establishment and the police realize that they can't just let patriots be pushed around in this manner. Okay. So basically what we need is to have thousands of people peacefully protesting there, which is your legal and legitimate right. And what has happened, Aston Villa, that banning of that sectarian banning, I don't care what anybody says, that was totally down to hatred of the Jews, hatred of Israel. I don't care. They can come out with their sniveling little excuses. And those men that are behind that protest, you've got no moral high ground. I've one word to say to the men behind what's going on in Birmingham, the Islamists in Birmingham. I've one word to say to you scumbags, and it's Telford. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, you absolute scumbags, absolute savages. You know what I'm talking about. So Villa, the Aston Villa thing is an absolute disgrace. Starmer should be ashamed of himself. I'm very disappointed that the club in Israel cancelled the tickets or didn't let anyone buy tickets. But I understand why they did it. Okay? I understand why they did it, because they're thinking about the safety of the fans. And what they did by doing that, they let Starmer and Shabama, Banana Mahmood, or whatever her name is, off the hook. Because these people, do you know what? Starmer, Mahmood, Jess Phillips, all those snivelling little Labour MPs that have kowtowed and bowed down to Islamists. Let's get it right. They've bowed down to Islamists for years. Well, the chickens are coming home to roost, because the Islamists are going, hold on, we don't need you guys anymore. We can get our own people elected. So all these sniveling, pathetic, limp-wristed Labour creeps are going to lose their jobs. The emotional mess that is Jess Phillips. Not only should she be booted from the grooming inquiry, she should lose her position in the cabinet, and hopefully at the next election she'll lose a seat. Because the reality is, there's one thing about these Islamist MPs, right? And I despise them. I absolutely, totally despise these Islamist MPs, right? But there's one thing about them, right? At least they're honest. They're being very straight about what their agenda is, unlike the Labour Party, who couldn't lie straight in bed, right? So, and I despise them. I despise what they stand for. I hate all this Free Palestine garbage. It's just code for hating Jews. It's code for Jew hatred. It's code for hatred of Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. And it has no place. The only flag that people should be sticking up on lampposts in the United Kingdom is the Union Jack, the Red Hand of Ulster, or the St. George's flag, or the Saltire, or maybe it's a dragon if you're in Wales. But you know, well, I'm not going to start picking on Wales this morning. It's too early in the morning. But you'll know what I'm talking about. I mean, this thing in Birmingham is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting, and I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that the people of Birmingham have been so beaten down and browbeaten by this diversity, equity, inclusion nonsense that there is no. I mean, there are lots of patriots. I know them. There's lots of patriots in Birmingham, but their voice has been silenced by Islamists, and it's all because of this DEI nonsense. So there's a lot has to change. That might be a message from the guy in Southampton. Let's have a look. See what's happening. Yeah, there we go. That's an old post. One, the police. That's an old post. That post's an old one. The police. Okay, let me know, Lee, if you're watching now, mate. Let me know what the correct post is. Yeah, and I'll take that one down. Let me know. So okay, just got a message from Lee there, and he said that is not the right one. Okay, let's have a look. Just bear with me, guys. Okay, right. Okay, got this. Right. Okay. Okay, here we go. So this should be the right one. Let's have a look. Right. Okay. So let's do this. Let's try this again, because what I don't want to do is confuse people. Okay. So where are we starting from? Muster Point, Highfield House Hotel. That's just what I said earlier. Okay, fine. So Denise, I'm sorry. That's not right. I've just got it from the horse's mouth. That is not right. Let me have a look again. Okay. So this is it here. So Sunday, 26, 1 p.m. Join us as we march to show that we will not be intimidated for standing for our community. Just gonna have to get rid of that. Morning, Jane. How are you? Okay, right. Sorry. Okay, guys, here we go. Right, let's start this again. So Sunday, 26, 1 p.m. Muster Point, Highfield House Hotel. That has just been confirmed from the horse's mouth from one of the guys that's involved with the organization in the background. And that is nailed on. What I've got on the screen there is absolutely correct. He's just sending me another text. I should really get him on this call, you know. Okay, right. Okay, so basically, what this guy said, right? So let's say this guy's one of the organizers. What he said is, because the numbers have increased massively, they're expecting a massive turnout, and I think what people have got to do is make sure it's a massive turnout. Lee, thanks for that, mate. Thanks for that. Numbers increase. Police change the mustering to the hotel. Ends with a stage at Hoglands Park. So that's fine. Okay, right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Right. Anyway, getting back to what's been going on. So the Birmingham thing, absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This is my mate again. Just bear with me. No problem. No problem. No problem. That's good stuff. And again, to the lads in Southampton, well done for getting this organised at such short notice. And Danny Tomo and Tommy and all the other groups on Twitter that have been promoting this and pushing this out. And I really want this to be a massive turnout for you guys. Because I think this has to be a line in the sand. And again, I don't like doing videos, right? I was almost not going to do this because I don't like promoting things that I'm not going to be at. But I can't be everywhere. I'm not omnipresent. I'm not omnipresent. And if you don't know what that is, it's a theological term for being everywhere all at once. Okay, and apparently Antifa are planning on disrupting the march and blocking the march, right? So, and this is just coming straight from the guys that are organising it. So basically, there is going to be a counter, and it's going to be something that's going to have to be policed properly. It's as simple as that. It's going to have to be policed properly. But getting back to Birmingham, those guys in Birmingham, those hardcore Islamists, what they've got away with is disgusting. And I think this has caused a massive. I mean, things were bad before Birmingham, but what we've seen is power and democracy being abused. And I don't care if an Islamist MP gets elected by a whole lot of scumbags, right, who hate Britain and love Palestine and love Hamas. I'm not interested. To me, he has no legitimacy in this country. He's got elected because he's got a mob that vote him in, right? A mob of radicalized nutcases that vote him in. That's why he's got elected, right? Not for any other reason. And to me, they have no legitimacy. If somebody stood for the Nazi Party in the UK or whatever the modern day equivalent is and got elected, I would say they have no legitimacy. They might have a democratic mandate. Well, guess what? Hamas had a democratic mandate because they won the election in Gaza. Guess what? Adolf Hitler had a democratic mandate because he won an election in Germany. He's still a scumbag who has no legitimacy. Sinn Féin IRA have run countless elections. I still don't accept that they have legitimacy because of what they did and because of what they stand for. So I don't care what these wicked communists and Islamists are doing, and fascists, the Islamofascists, the communists, the National Socialists in Ireland. What they are doing is using democracy to destroy democracy, using a nation's freedoms to destroy that nation. That's what they're doing. And that's exactly what the Islamists are doing. So those MPs, to me, they have no legitimacy whatsoever. They might have a vote, but they've no legitimacy because at the heart of everything, they're not Democrats because they're going to use democracy to destroy democracy. And then we have Whitechapel. So Nick Tenconi, as you know, he's been globe-trotting the country with his deportation banner, right? And UKIP. Never massive demos, just a few people. They've never caused any problem. They've had a lot of problems from the left. They've had a lot of problems from Antifa and people going at them. But again, Tower Hamlets, Whitechapel, banned. Why is that march banned? Why has that march been banned? So anybody that says there's no-go zones in this country is absolutely lying and deluded. Absolutely lying and deluded. Because of course there's no-go zones in this country. Because the Islamists are making it clear that that Jews are not welcome in Aston. They've made that very clear. They can dress it up and say it's just about hooliganism. That's bullshit. Okay? It's a complete lie. The real reason that that team cannot come and play in Birmingham is pure and simple anti-Semitism, and that spineless chief constable in Birmingham bent over to the Islamists. And it's exactly the same in Whitechapel. Islamists and far leftists, communists, basically, and these people, these people call themselves liberal, and they say they're interested in freedom. They're not interested in freedom. They're not interested in anything liberal. What they're interested in is taking away your rights. The Islamists want Sharia law in the UK. Simple as. They want the UK to become a caliphate, and they're pushing for it incrementally. They know what they're doing. Do you know why there's no terrorist attacks? Because at the minute they don't need to do them because they're winning. You wait to see what happens when people push back. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I am going to talk about it. Once we get a political party elected that will push back against the Islamists, and don't think for 1 minute, I'm going to take that out of the screen there. Don't think for 1 minute that that Farage and Reform are going to push back against the Islamists, because they ain't. Not in your life, because he's terrified of it. What did he say? We can't win. Well, I'm going to say this. If we don't win, then England's totally lost. It's as simple as that. We have to win. And do you know what? I know how we can win. But what we need is a political party getting into power that takes fundamentalist Islam and Islamism very, very seriously as a threat to national security, to community cohesion, to democracy, and to the very fabric of the United Kingdom. And the only party that's going to do that is Advance. And how they're going to do it? Because what do they stand for? They stand for freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, equality, equality before the law, democracy, and sovereignty. That's what they stand for. Now, one of the points on that is freedom of religion. And this is what I struggle with freedom of religion. Because obviously I don't want anybody coming and telling me how I can or can't worship God. But I think when a religion becomes so malevolent and so poisonous to culture and society that it's literally tearing the fabric of society apart, then I think there is a very, very good reason to clip that religion's wings. And of course, we've done this in the UK before. It was done after the Reformation, where for years, Roman Catholics, because of the threat of the Counter-Reformation and literally military power being used to enforce Catholicism around Europe, well, because of that threat, Catholicism was definitely discriminated against in the UK. And at the time, that was the right thing to do, because that's what led to our freedoms. That's what led to us having genuine religious freedom. And I would say the threat from Islamism and from fundamentalist Islam is so great that there needs to be restrictions on that religion. There needs to be, I would say, a ban on the burqa without a shadow of a doubt. That, and I used to be against the ban on the burqa. I used to say, no, I'm a libertarian. No, I'm not a libertarian. This is a battle of ideas. And the reality is that women are being oppressed by the burqa. Do you think all those women that are dressed from head to foot in black, literally like what was it? What was it Boris Johnson said? They look like they're in bin liners or something. Do you think those women want to be dressed like that? I don't believe that for a minute. I believe that's misogynistic, probably polygamist husbands who are basically pushing that agenda. So that's the first thing. You need a political party that will take the hard decisions that need to be made. Banning the burqa. What about halal slaughter? And again, people have spoke to me about halal slaughter for years, right? And I think it's very simple. Halal slaughter has to be banned. It is inhumane, even with the partial stun nonsense. It's inhumane. They pray over an animal while they're cutting its throat. Come on. Halal slaughter needs to be banned. That's the second one. The third one, and these are things that even the Labour government could do, right? But they won't. The only party I believe in the country that will do this, that's got a chance of winning anything, is Advance UK, and they will do it. UKIP would do it as well, but UKIP don't have the support base, unfortunately. They don't have the members that Advance has got. So Advance UK, if they get power, what I want to see them do is ban the burqa, ban halal, ban cousin marriage. I mean, cousin marriage is absolutely horrendous when you look at the deformities and the disabilities in some of those poor children that are being born out of those cousin marriages. Needs to be banned because it doesn't work. It's causing massive inbreeding, is causing massive genetic problems. And again, the stats bear that out. The other thing that needs to be looked at is The mosques. The mosques need to be investigated. These mosques that are preaching extremism, they need to be closed down. Because if you've got a mosque that's preaching hatred against the Jews, preaching hatred against Christians, hatred against this country, and inspiring people like that nutcase that attacked the synagogue a few weeks ago to go and do crazy stuff, then they need to be closed down. They need to be closed down. And finally, I mean, there's loads of other stuff, but I just want to give my main issues. And we've talked about this since 2017. We talked about this. The Islamists, the terrorist sympathizers, and the people who want to be terrorists, the wannabe jihadis that are on that watch list, 40,000 or however many there is, they all need to be arrested and interned. So obviously there needs to be camps made to arrest and intern them. They need to be arrested. They need to be interned. And the ones that are not British nationals need to be deported straight away. The ones that have come here, not born here, but have come here and have got British citizenship, that citizenship needs to be revoked and they need to be returned for where they come from, no matter what the consequences are for them. I don't care. Because Islamism and communism are tearing this country to pieces. And it has to stop. It has to stop, plain and simple. But anyway, guys, so yes. Anyway, Whitechapel. I went off on a tangent. Whitechapel. So UKIP have been banned from marching in Whitechapel because, and in the police statement, they actually mentioned the fact that UKIP support deportation. Well, so does Advance, so does Reform, so does the Conservative Party probably, so does the Labour Party. So 4 of the major parties with the biggest memberships support deportations. Sorry, 5 support deportations. UKIP, Advance, Reform, Conservatives, and the Labour Party. So what are the Met Police telling us? That people aren't allowed to have political opinions that differ from whoever lives in that constituency. Again, it is an undermining of democracy. And let's get it right, if they're going to ban the UKIP marches, well, I tell you what, next time there's a Jew-hating pro-Hamas from the river to the sea march, how about banning that? Mark Rowley, because obviously you had something to do with it. Shabana Mahmood. But then again, there's a problem there, isn't there, with you, Banana, because you stood outside Sainsbury's gloating that you'd managed to close Sainsbury's down. I don't know whether you were an MP then, but it's a pretty shameful thing to do, isn't it? Because Sainsbury's had the temerity to actually sell some produce that came from Israel. How scandalous. You see, a lot of our fruit and veg used to come from Israel, from the Gaza Strip, when Israel had it as the greenhouse of Western Europe. Loads of fruit and veg, everything came from that part of Israel. It's massive. And then, of course, well, we know what happened, don't we? The Israelis, very foolishly, in my opinion, handed it over to some backward, murderous Islamist savages in the name of Hamas, who have turned that place into a complete hellhole for everybody that lives there. Brainwashed the population with their death cult radicalism. And instead of it being the breadbasket of Europe, it's become the death basket of Israel, as they've sent death squads into Israel from the Gaza Strip, launched missiles, and then, of course, October the 7th. And goodness knows what's going to happen with this peace process. I'm very, to be honest with you, I'm a Zionist. Everybody knows where I stand on all this. And if you don't know, then you're probably clear off my channel, but that's all right. The reality is I worry that this could be a massive mistake. And I do hope that Israel finishes the job and destroys the rest of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. But then what? What do you do after that? And that's the problem. But all these Islamists that are wrapping themselves in the flag of a state that doesn't even exist, they've actually prolonged this conflict by putting pressure on the governments, all these Western governments that were calling for a Palestinian state. That allowed Hamas to dig their heels in just a little bit longer, until, of course, the Israelis fired a few missiles into Qatar and basically started smashing them again in the Gaza Strip. So to me, we're in very dangerous times. Enough of international politics. Let's get back to Southampton on Sunday. So let me just get that on the screen again. So if you can see that, let me know. In fact, what I'll do, I'll remove myself. Let's just have a look at it again. Just for people that are just coming on. So this Sunday, 26, 1 p.m., join us as we march to show that we will not be intimidated for standing for our community and our country. Totally agree with all that. You'll not stop us expressing our right to protest. Muster Point, Highfield House Hotel, SO17 1AQ. Speeches from local patriots, community spirit, patriotism. I mean, these people. Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm probably far more radical than the people that are organising this event. I am, I'll put my hands up. I am pretty much in the counter jihad camp. That's where I think we're at. We've got to fight against this jihad on every single front. But I think the patriots down there, they're just men and women that are concerned about the kids. Okay, they're not, particularly political. They're just people that have got a passion for saving the kids and saving the community. Let me just have a quick look at some of these comments here, guys. Okay. Yeah, a breakfast show would be great. I'm thinking about it, guys. You know what? I'll maybe start next week. In fact, you know what? I'm going to start tomorrow. I'll tell you why I'm going to start tomorrow, because the Men of England record launches tomorrow with a record label. It's got all the download links. So let's try and get that. Can you imagine if we had the Men of England at #1 for Remembrance Weekend? Wouldn't that be great? Because that's what it's about. The Men of England is looking back to what the Men of England used to be like. But you know what I'm very heartened by? I'm very heartened. For years, I used to despair. We'd do demos and sometimes there's 10 people there. I'm not kidding. Maybe not that few. Well, no, actually, we have done demos where there was that few. Maybe that's down to bad organization or people just don't like me. I don't know. But to see the amount of people that are getting out on the streets now, and this is why this Sunday has to be a line in the sand and it has to be peaceful. We've got to face down these scumbags that are the real fascists, the Islamo-fascists and the communists. And look, if you ever look at communism, how malevolent it is, how evil it is, it's every bit as bad as fascism and Nazism. We don't want any of that in our country. We want a nice, moderate, tolerant country. And as much as it sticks in my throat, this is where Christianity is so important. If I wasn't a Christian, goodness knows where I'd be. But Christianity is so important because the Bible is very clear. We're to love our enemies. That's a very difficult thing to do. Doesn't mean you don't realize you've got your enemies. Doesn't mean you roll over and let yourself get pushed about. Because on Sunday, Sunday's the Lord's day. But on Sunday, I think people should go to Southampton to take a stand. I genuinely believe that, because this is about a civil liberties issue. This is about people's right to protest. And you can guarantee that the police will no doubt try and ban this, right? But people have just got to go down there. It's a static protest. Even if they ban the march, they can't. The bottom line is patriots need to get there in massive, massive numbers. Christmas will be banned next. Listen, I mean, do you know what? The worrying thing is, I know you're not joking about that. And Save the Nation, Deportation. Absolutely. That's a good song, that, isn't it? That's a good little rhyme, that. Save the Nation, Deportation. Yeah, exactly. Anyone that doesn't like bacon is weird. I mean, really, Hey, John, how are you? Kim, I hope you're not talking about bacon. They're already doing that. Easter disappeared as well. Well, that's true. I mean, this is the thing. And this is what's happening. And that's why we need to get back to our Christian roots. And I'm getting more militant about this. The longer I do this, a lot of people, when they start doing stuff like this, they kind of get a little bit, the fire goes out of their belly and they get a little bit sort of jaded by it. When I get all the knocks, it just makes me come back harder and harder and harder. And believe you me, if you've been doing this movement for any length of time, all of us have had knocks, financially, police, all sorts of stuff, family stuff. All of us have had big, big knocks. And what it should do when we get those knocks is make us come back stronger and stronger every time. Okay. Right, Kim, enjoy your day at work. I'll be diving off soon as well. Good morning, Gizmo. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do me a favor. There's 580 people watching now. If you could like the video, subscribe to the video, share it on any of your social media, because what we need to do, we do need to get a massive crowd there on Sunday, without a shadow of a doubt. Everyone that comes to Southampton, please don't allow the intimidation from the left or the Islamists. Absolutely, Lionheart. Absolutely. I take it you're from Southampton. Totally agree with that. I've often thought, instead of marching around London, why not march in Southampton, Dover, Grimsby, or Southport? If 3 million people turned up at these places, they would have to. Well, do you know what, Jim? I tell you what, to be honest with you, look, there's going to be a massive march next spring. I'm not going to put any of the dates out or anything like that, but there will be a massive march in London next spring. It'll be the Unite the Kingdom march, obviously, and what we've got planned for that, I mean, if it comes off, it's going to be something incredible. But that's definitely going to happen. And I think from the point of view of local marches, I absolutely agree with you. If you're in Grimsby, if you're in Dover or Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Belfast, Bangor, you know, wherever you are, everybody should be protesting every week. And what happens when, and this is why in your local area, because everybody's got issues in the local areas, they're different issues, but everybody's got issues. Maybe it's the money laundering barbershops. Maybe there's grooming stuff going on. Maybe it's houses of multiple occupancy. Maybe it's antisocial behaviour by migrants. Maybe it's whatever, you know, stuff going on that is not right. There's things happening all over the country that need to be protested about. So every single town and city should have a little cadre of people that come together and protest. And I think, I mean, I've spoke about this for a long time, and I'm going to look at this again, because I'm going to look at how we can do this. But I think I'm going to set something up. In fact, no, I'm not going to talk about that today. I'll talk about that on another video, because it's just going to confuse things. But no, I think you're right, Jim. It's a really important thing for everybody to protest in the local areas. And to me, I'm going to put it up on the screen here. We need a political voice. And honestly, believe you me, I am involved with. I'm going to sorry guys, I'm going to take the I'm going to take that out of the thing there. I'm involved with Advance UK, as you know. I'm not in the leadership team. I'm just a member, because and I was talking to one of the let's just say the most influential people in Advance yesterday. And I said, look, I actually don't want to be in a position of responsibility in Advance, because I won't be able to say the things that I'm saying now, because at the end of the day, you know, all political parties have to toe a certain line. And if you're as extreme and as crazy as I am, and because I can pretty much say what I want on my live streams, if I was in a position of being on the college or standing as a candidate, I won't be able to say the stuff that I say. And if I ever did stand as a candidate and the local media went through my social media, they'd have me, you know, they would have me hounded out within seconds, you know. So, but to me, Advance UK is the answer. And what I'll do is I'll talk about policies and talk about ideas that I would like Advance to follow up on. And then it's up to them what they do, you know. I have a lot of ideas. I've a lot of ideas how we can save our country. I've been thinking about this, believe it or not, since 1984, when we had the Battle of Brackenhoe. But if anyone lived in Middlesbrough in 1984, they'll know what I'm talking about. So basically, I know what the threat is to this country, and I know where it's coming from. It's coming from the left, and it's coming from Islamists. It's as simple as that. And it's a very real and major threat, and it needs to be faced down. And there's lots of ideas. There's lots of ideas bouncing around my head that, you know, that I think any government that is worth its salt would take up and actually implement, and it would be for the betterment of the country. And the reality is, if what we're doing is always based on that principle. Yes, we can be radical. Yes, we can rant, and yes, we can get angry about stuff. But if it's always based on that principle of love, of sacrificial love for family, community, country, and when I joined the military in 1985, I was fully willing. I didn't join the military as a job. I joined it because I was ideologically wedded to the idea of the United Kingdom, and I was totally bought into when we went to Northern Ireland. Totally bought into the mission in Northern Ireland. Still am. I think it was a just war and a just mission. It wasn't a war, but a just conflict against IRA terrorists, which is primarily what it was. It wasn't really against the loyalists then. All we were doing was we never even knew who the loyalist players and terrorists were. We were just totally focused on the IRA because they were the ones that were a threat to the union. They were a threat to British politicians. They were the massive threat to the community in Northern Ireland. So that's what the British Army focused on, and I still think that was a just fight. And obviously, there was a lot more going on than we ever knew when we were over here, but we were part of it. We were little cogs in a big, massive machine. Anyway, digress. So I'll have a look at some of these comments and then I'll jump off. Do you know what? I think I'm liking this doing morning live streams, guys. I think I'm enjoying it. Yeah, he is. Paul's doing a great. Paul is an absolute legend, and what he is doing with the what he's doing is great with his phone-in shows, and it's that interaction. I would do it, but I haven't got the money to buy the kit that he's got to do the phone-in. So I'll see what happens with the morning show actually, because obviously, I mean, this one here, I've just come on and done this. This isn't monetized or anything, but I'll have a look and see what happens with the breakfast show and see if it actually works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start doing 7 till 8. Yeah, and I'll try a couple of mornings a week. Yeah, I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to do 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock. No, absolutely, Lionheart. No racism, pure patriotism. This is the whole thing. None of us are driven by race. I don't care what color people are. I genuinely don't give two hoots. That's where the left are far more racist than us because they're bothered about people's skin color. I don't care. And there's a lot of colored people are bothered about skin color. I'm not. I genuinely, if I see someone that's different color to me, I just think, oh, he's different. I don't even think about it. It's just not a thing. And this is the terrible thing that the identity politics has done. It's pushed people back into thinking that way. They're still number ones. Yeah, the Men of England. Yeah, that's Kelly. It's going to be going out, so you can download it tomorrow. I think what we want to do is get the Men of England really, really high up in the download chart. The Men of England song will get banned by the BBC. Absolutely, that's why we want to do it. Let's get it banned by the BBC. That means you're really annoying them. If you get banned by the BBC, that's what we are. We are just we're still getting back to our punk rock roots, aren't we? Getting the song banned when you're 57-year-old. Oh man, let's have a look. I love the Pink Ladies. Yeah, they're doing a great job. And again, I mean, I was very impressed. I was on Paul Thorpe's show the other day with Sarah, and what she's doing, I thought was really, really impressive. The way she's basically she's now got people all over the country getting involved in the Pink Ladies, and they're basically any funds they're getting, they're saying to people, instead of giving us the money, go and rent a bus, go and hire a PA system. I think that's absolutely fantastic. The other thing is, if there's anyone in Southampton that has got a vehicle with a screen on it, I think the lads in Southampton want a vehicle with a screen on it, if that's possible. I know it's very short notice, but I mean, it's not essential, but I mean, it would be nice if anyone's got that and they can get it going. Okay, guys, I'm going to play us out on the Men of England. Let me just find it here. Let me just find the Men of England here. Where are we? Okay. Let's have a look. And do me a favor, guys, subscribe to the Counter Media channel. obviously the Richard Inman channel's going great. We're up to about 48,000 or something like that on Richard Inman. And I mean, don't unsubscribe to Richard Inman, but because what I'm doing, I'm trying to put different. Yeah, we're on 48,745 on Richard Inman, and on the Counter Media one, we're at around 6,000. It's kind of stagnant at about 6,000. You see, I don't think YouTube really want to do me too many favors, to be honest with you. I really don't. But let me just find the Men of England here, guys, and I'll play it. Just bear with me. Ah, there we go. Here we go. Righty. No, just let me just put my earphones in as well.
Men who look to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold? Where are the men of England, those heroes brave and bold? Where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love. The men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. Where were the men of England when abusers so depraved took the daughters of our nation, who forever they enslaved? What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. The vile police and vice squad, they all seemed quite amused, as at the hands of groomers our daughters were abused. The politicians blamed the lads who stood up one and all. Most of all they blamed the one who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. Where are you, men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. Where are you, men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still with us.
This morning, my friends, I asked a question. I asked a question this morning. I said, Where are the men of England? You're here! You're here! You're here!
BetVic.
Sorry, guys, just realised. It would just send a message to the establishment. I was talking there for about 5 minutes before I realised, because I couldn't even see the screen. But that's why you should never put a mute button on. I'm always telling Paul Thorpe off for muting himself, and I did it myself for a little while. So yes, it was because I was muted. That's why there was no sound. But yeah, tomorrow 7 o'clock, and let's get the song launched. Let's get it to #1 for Remembrance Weekend. And it's going to be a big ask. It's going to be a big push, because look, I don't have a massive following, but I know that everybody that does follow me is totally committed to what we do. So let's try and push this out, and let's try and get it to #1. Get the men of Where Are the Men of England to #1. And please, Richard said, please play Danny Tomo's latest video. It shows why people need to be in Southampton on Sunday. Where is that, Paul? Let me know where it is, mate, and I'll try and find it. Is it on YouTube or? Charge less to download. I can get 20. I mean, actually, do you know what I've done? There's a mate of mine runs a record company, and he used to do all the punk stuff back in the day. He's a really good lad, and basically, it's his record company that we're doing it through. So I just said, look, there's the track. I don't know how to do all that stuff. You do it. So basically, it's in his hands, and yeah. So obviously, I mean, it's basically he's looking after me with it. He's not going to rip me off or anything, but it's all in his hands. And but I'll get all those links up there tomorrow, and we'll get the downloads. And it's on YouTube. Okay, I'll have a wee look, see if I can find this, and I'll play this Danny Tomo video. Let's have a look. Tell you what, I think Tommy's stuff that he's been doing in Israel has been absolutely fantastic. Okay, is this the one from 1 hour ago? Let's have a look. Let's see if this is the one. Right, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to play this video that Paul was asking me to play. So just bear with me while I get it into the stream. So give me 2 ticks. Okay, here we go. Right, let's have a look.
Don't ever fucking do this much again. Because you know what? Next time it's going to be 50 times more.
Well, I think that is that the one, Paul? I think that shows everything that we need to know about what's happening with the Islamists. I mean, you know, the aggression that they're showing there. We don't go and harangue their marches when you've got, like, you know, 10,000 women dressed in bin bags. We don't go and harass them. Yeah, so I mean, they really do need to get put back in their box, to be honest with you. The lefties and these Islamists, they need to be put back in their place. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm not on about normal everyday Muslims. I'm on about the Islamists. These people that want to take over our country and want to turn it into a Sharia state. And we have every right to call them out and to challenge them and to stick it on them. And to be honest with you, that's one of the other things that a government needs to do when we get a good right-wing government. Ban the Muslim Brotherhood and ban any of their affiliates. There's some of these Pakistani organizations are affiliate with the Muslim Brotherhood. They have exactly the same Islamist ideology and policies. They need to be banned. We need to monitor these Deobandi mosques, monitor the Salafist mosques, find out what they're saying, find out what's been preached, and wherever necessary, close them down. And I would not give any more planning permission to mosques either. Simple as that. What we need to do is make it Britain a very uncomfortable place for extremist Islamists. They need to know that they're not welcome. And Islamists aren't welcome in this country. They are not welcome. Not about Muslims. I'm on about the extremists. These people who support Hamas. These people who support Al-Qaeda, support ISIS. And there's a lot of them. That's the problem. 32% in the Henry Jackson poll last year, 32% of Muslims polled said they wanted Sharia law in the UK. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. I think it was over 50% didn't believe Hamas was involved in massacres on October the 7th. You know, that's the sort of mentality that we're dealing with. That Islamist mentality needs to be purged from the United Kingdom. It's as simple as that. We can't have it. Now, you know, it's just got to stop. It's got to stop, and it's got to be clamped down on. Okay, guys. Well, listen, I am gonna, Jenny, if you log on tomorrow at 7 o'clock, I'm gonna set the stream up now. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, I'm gonna do a stream about the Men of England. We're going to launch the Men of England tomorrow, so I'll do that stream tomorrow morning. It's going to be the first breakfast show, and then what we're going to do, we're going to do a breakfast show not every single day, but certainly 2 a week. I might do every day if I can get my body clock into that frame of mind. It probably means I'm going to have to do less late night live streams. Probably have to say, well, I'll do the latest I'll do a live stream will be 9 till 10, because obviously, you know, you've got to prepare for these things. So I'll probably have to be up at 5 tomorrow morning to get everything ready for the live stream. But anyway, guys, okay, what have we got here? What's going on? Good morning, Richard. Birmingham is where I was born and lived there until a couple of years ago. It's despicable. It is, Jill. It's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely, Islam is not compatible with Christianity. Never has been. Never will be. Fight a defender, defend the faith. Yep, absolutely. And that's what we're doing. We're defending the faith. That's exactly what we're doing. Yeah, Qatar did buy the UK. You're absolutely right on that one. Listen, nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me. And this is another problem. I'll be honest with you. And look, YouTube is a fantastic platform, but it is still not a free platform. And I know, look, I see some content out there, I'll be honest with you, by people that are spineless, right? Because they don't talk about the things that I talk about. There's probably the only person that probably, the people that probably talk like me on YouTube are Fast Jet Performance and Tommy. And I don't see too many others just really calling it out and saying, this cannot happen. We can't have our country becoming an Islamic state. And we can't. And the spineless ones are the ones with hundreds of thousands of clicks and views and all the rest of it. The people that actually say stuff that's real, we've all been shadow banned for years. I've been shadow banned since 2018. 100%. Totally vaporized from Facebook. I can't have a Facebook account. Twitter, I'm not sure about Twitter. I mean, I know it is fairly free speechy, but still I wonder about, you know, did Elon get rid of all the wrong uns that were shadow banning people? He probably has by now. But YouTube is a great platform. It's my favorite platform. But I just wish it was freer because, you know, the community guidelines, they'll just hammer you. You know, so even saying what I'm saying, I'm holding back. I'm holding back from saying what I'd really want to say on YouTube because they'll just take they'll take your channels away from you. You know. And I'm not saying I would never say anything that's going to incite violence. I'd never say anything that would be racist or anything like that. But I have got a right to have the beliefs I have about Islam and about the dangers of Islam. And you cannot fully talk about that on any platform, really. There was a video made by a Muslim woman years ago. I'll try and find it actually because I saved it somewhere. Called By the Numbers. In fact, if I can find that now, I'll drop it in this. I'll actually drop it in this. In this video now. Just bear with me 2 seconds, guys. See if I can find this. Because By the Numbers basically showed exactly what a problem that we've got with radical Islam, and it was made by a woman who was a Muslim. Incredible, and they pretty much banned it. Let's have a look. May well be totally banned, but if I can find it. No, it's not on that one. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going through my playlist because it was in one of my playlists. But again, if they've totally got rid of it, it obviously won't be there anymore. It could be in this one. Oh, here we go. Right. Okay, I'm going to play this, guys. Yeah. So if you're all still there, just bear with me. I'm going to pop this into the channel. Now this is shadow banned everywhere. Okay, so goodness knows what's going to happen when I play it, but there we go. And it's made by a Muslim. It's not bigoted. It's just genuinely telling the truth about what's going on.
Almost every day, we're told that Islamist terrorism has nothing to do with Islam.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Al-Qaeda's cause is not Islam. ISIL is not Islamic.
And we are told that Muslims reject the extremists.
The overwhelming majority of Muslims reject that interpretation of Islam. It's very important for us to align ourselves with the 99.9% of Muslims who are looking for the same thing we're looking for.
But is it true that 99.9% of Muslims don't support extremism? What would you say if scientific polls by major research organizations have repeatedly shown a very different picture? I'm Raheel Raza. I'm a Sunni Muslim, and for the past 20 years, I've dedicated my life to speaking out against the rising threat of radical Islam. When there is a disease or a virus, it can't be treated unless you identify the problem. So we have to call it what it is, and it is violent, radical, extremist Islamism. This is not an easy topic to discuss, but in light of the fact that most of the terrorism in the world today involves Muslims in one way or another, and because it directly affects our lives and security, I think that we need to be able to have an open, honest, and fact-based conversation about that.
Let's be honest. Islam has a problem today. There is a cancer of extremism within Islam today.
This is not a conversation about Islam. It's a conversation about the growing threat of radical Islam and how it affects us all. And that conversation begins now. Our society has evolved to a point where we can have a civilized debate about almost anything. Anything except what may be the most important issue of our time, the rise of radical Islam.
Liberals somehow feel worried that they're going to be called racist if they criticize people of the Muslim faith.
This fear of being called a racist has caused many people to act against their better judgment, and it may have even cost innocent lives.
At least 14 killed, another 17 wounded. It happened in San Bernardino, a city.
In San Bernardino, California, 2 Muslim terrorists who had pledged allegiance to ISIS killed at least 14 people.
Inside Farouk's house, police found a virtual bomb-making laboratory with smokeless powder and remote-control cars.
But a few weeks before the attack, some neighbors apparently noticed suspicious activity but didn't call the police. Why?
That man that we interviewed said he never said anything because he didn't want to be seen as racially profiling.
Did political correctness cost people their lives? It's hard to say for sure, but we do know that it's become harder and harder to speak about these things without being told we are racist.
Freedom of speech, freedom to practice any religion you want without fear of violence. These are liberal principles that liberals applaud for. But then when you say, in the Muslim world, this is what's lacking, then they get upset.
It's an ugly thing. It's gross. It's racist. How about the more than 1 billion people who aren't fanatical, who don't punch women, who just want to go to the store,
wait a second. Wait a second.
But don't do any of the things that you're saying all Muslims
wait a second.
stereotyping.
Wait a second.
Things, and you painting the whole group religion with that.
Well, I'm a Muslim, and I don't need Ben Affleck defending me and my religion. I appreciate it, but I don't need celebrities defending me from talk show hosts. I need to be defended from the radicals in my own religion who want me dead. Radical Islamists who behead people, set people on fire, pour battery acid on women's faces, murder people in the name of my God.
فقسما بأمر الله لندكن أمريكا وبعقرها في واشنطن بإذن الله تعالى.
Radicals who seek to take over the world in the name of my religion.
We need to establish the domination of Islam.
We believe that the Sharia will be implemented worldwide.
سوف تستعيد زعامة العالم.
So let's get real and look at some numbers. Today, there are around 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. In fact, Islam is the world's fastest growing religion, and according to Pew Research, it will surpass Christianity this century. Now, obviously, not all Muslims are radical, but a certain percentage are. Sam Harris helps break it down for Ben Affleck and for all of us.
As you say, we have 1.5, 1.6 billion Muslims. Now,
second biggest religion in the world, a quarter.
Well, Ben, let me unpack this. Let me unpack this for you.
Please do.
We have just imagine some concentric circles here. You have at the center, you have jihadists. These are people who wake up in the morning wanting to kill apostates, wanting to die trying. They believe in paradise. They believe in martyrdom.
That's the first circle of radicals. Violent jihadists like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Hezbollah, Hamas, and various lone wolves. These are the jihadists who murder people in San Bernardino, Texas, Paris, London, Delhi, Jerusalem, Ottawa, Madrid, Nairobi, Boston, and of course New York. These are the horrible bad people, as Ben Affleck said. So how many violent jihadists are there? There are anywhere between 40,000 to 200,000 Muslims involved in fighting for ISIS across the world. That's just ISIS. And it doesn't include the hundreds of thousands of jihadis fighting for Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and other groups. But the thing about terrorism is that it only takes a handful of terrorists to do serious damage and even change the way a society operates.
Explosives hidden in shoes and other improvised bombs are an active, ongoing threat.
And with the refugee crisis, the number of ISIS jihadis operating in the West is also set to increase.
The huge numbers are a challenge to security, with many arriving refusing to identify themselves upon arrival in Europe.
This is the ideal situation for ISIS to penetrate several countries in Europe.
And according to reports, the mastermind of the Paris attacks snuck into Europe claiming to be a refugee.
He boasted of being able to travel freely between Europe and Syria.
And while radical Islamists are sneaking into Europe, twice as many British Muslims are fighting for ISIS than are fighting in the British Armed Forces.
In the gruesome video showing James Foley's murder, many were shocked to hear his executioner speaking with a British accent.
This is James Wright Foley.
America is not immune to this danger.
Today, federal prosecutors say a man trained in Syria returned to the United States to launch a terrorist attack here at home.
According to U.S. Homeland Security, there have been over 122 U.S. terrorist cases involving homegrown violent jihadists since 9/11. Fortunately, many of them have been thwarted by law enforcement. That's the first circle. Murderous, violent jihadists in Europe, in America, and around the world. But what about the next circle outside of them?
Outside of them, we have Islamists. These are people who are just as convinced of martyrdom and paradise and wanting to foist their religion on the rest of humanity, but they want to work within the system. They're not going to blow themselves up on a bus. They want to change governments. They want to use democracy against itself.
Islamists want many of the same things as the jihadists. It's just that their tactics differ. So instead of engaging in terror themselves, they use the political and cultural system to further their aims. Take Gaza, for example. In 2006, Palestinians voted Hamas into power. Hamas is a radical terrorist group that used democracy to gain legitimacy and political power. Also included in this circle are a large percentage of Egyptians who in 2012 elected the Muslim Brotherhood into power.
Egypt has a new president this evening, Mohamed Morsi, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood.
The Muslim Brotherhood was formed in Cairo in 1928. It's known as the progenitor of modern political Islam and has a stated goal of establishing a global caliphate or Islamic state run in accordance with Sharia law.
Morsi wants to impose Islamic law, limit the rights of women. His party is not pro-American.
Now, while the Muslim Brotherhood is primarily a political organization, it has spawned many terrorist groups around the world, including Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and others. Although distinct from the groups we just described, there is an organization here in North America called CARE, which the Department of Justice said is or was a member of the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood. CARE presents itself as a moderate civil rights group representing the interests of Muslims in America. Yet, when you look a little closer, many disturbing things start to emerge.
A controversial American Muslim group is facing new charges of ties to Islamic terrorism.
The United Arab Emirates has just listed CARE as a terrorist organization. ISIS and Al-Qaeda are also on that list.
And in the United States, CARE was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in a major terror funding trial. Groups like CARE try to silence people like myself and others who dare to speak out about radical Islam. Case in point, a film that I was in featuring 9 women who spoke out against barbaric treatment of women by radical Islamists got shut down.
Why would CARE want to silence this film?
That's what they do. They try to shut down debate by crying Islamophobia, even at Muslims like me. That's the second circle. Now, this next circle is the largest of them all, and this is very disturbing. The Muslims in this circle are certainly not like ISIS, and they're not working to overthrow governments like the Muslim Brotherhood. But they do hold beliefs and practices that no doubt will seem radical to you and me.
They hold views about human rights and about women, about homosexuals that are deeply troubling.
Who are they? What are their beliefs? In 2013, Pew Research released a comprehensive study based on interviews with thousands of Muslims in 39 countries. It reported that in countries like Afghanistan, Egypt, and Jordan, the vast majority of Muslims surveyed, between 79 to 86%, believe that those who leave the Muslim faith should be executed. Do you know anyone who has left their faith? Do you think they should be executed? Do you think that that's a radical belief? If we were to take the average from all the Muslims surveyed around the world, we end up with an average of 27% who believe that apostates should be executed. 27% of those surveyed, that equals 237 million people. Did you know that 39% of all Muslims in the countries surveyed believe that honor killings can be a justifiable punishment for a woman who has had pre- or extramarital sex? Do you think that's a radical belief? That radical belief is held by over 345 million Muslims. These studies paint a picture of an Islamic world that is increasingly out of step with the modern world. When it comes to support for terrorism and jihad, these are the numbers for young Muslims aged 18 to 29 in Western countries. 42% of French Muslims, 35% of British Muslims, and 26% of American Muslims believe suicide bombings against non-Muslims can be justified. This is the next generation of Muslims speaking. A majority of Muslims surveyed, 53%, said they want Sharia or Islamic law to be the law of the land in Muslim majority countries. Of those who said they want Sharia to be the law of the land, Over 52% said they support whippings and cutting off of hands of thieves. This comes to about 281 million people. Do you think that's a radical belief? And 51% say they're in favor of stoning spouses if they're unfaithful, which equals 289 million people. Of course, not every Muslim believes in these things, but hundreds of millions do. The numbers are right here for all to see. It's time for an honest conversation about one of the most important issues of our time. By silencing the debate about radical Islamist beliefs, we abandon our own core beliefs of truth, free speech, and tolerance, and we abandon human rights in favor of political correctness. Together, we have begun the conversation. Now it's time for you to have your say.
Well, there you go, folks. Close that down. That's it. I am going to quit there because I've kept loads of people late for work this morning. I need to get some work done as well. So I'm gonna I'm gonna shoot off. But that video, I mean, that video's. I've just put the link into one of the YouTube videos on my own on the Richard Inman YouTube channel for that video. It is, you know, you couldn't watch that video enough because it just really brings it home. So anybody, I don't know if there's any really stupid people left that don't really realize what Islam is. I think there's evil people that don't care, and then the stupid people, a few stupid people that just aren't reading the room. But the truth of the matter is that video needs to be shared with as many people as possible. And that woman that shared it, she's a Muslim. She is one of the, you know, the sort of the few moderate Muslims who speaks out. And I think about, I haven't watched much of Lubna's stuff lately, but Lubna was speaking out. I don't know where she's at the minute. Again, there was a friend of mine years ago, and I used to do videos with him. I don't know what's happened to Rahel Raza. She used to come over to the UK. There's a friend of mine called Mafasal Islam, and he was an apostate. He left Islam, and he went back to Islam. And I said, why are you going back? He says, because I'm being intimidated. You know, he was intimidated into going back into the fold of Islam, and I don't know what's happened to him. He's disappeared off the scene, and he was very outspoken. I mean, I did videos with him. Again, you can find a lot of these videos on my channel if you go back far enough. And some of the stuff he used to say, like, I was like, man, you know, you're going to get us all killed here. Like, you know what I mean? But, and again, my friend Sam Solomon, who died 2 weeks ago, he was a Sharia judge. He was a Sharia judge, and he left Islam, became a very, very strong Christian, was a good friend to me, was a good friend to our movement, good friend of Tommy's. And he passed away. He was old, and he'd been ill for a lot of years. But again, you know, you've got to hear it from the horse's mouth. And Sam would have just gone through things that none of us would have seen, because he knew the Quran and inside out. He knew the Hadith. He knew the life story of Muhammad. He knew that all of the Islamic law, you know, and I still don't know exactly where he was from. I've got a good idea where he was from, but we kind of had to keep it secret because he still had family in the country. But yeah, so it's a big battle, and we can't afford to lose it. And, you know, to me, we don't, at the minute, we don't have enough people that are talking about it. We don't have political leaders apart from Ben Habib and Nick Tenconi. Nick Tenconi and Ben, I believe, are the only political leaders that would do anything about it. And like I say, sadly, Nick is not going to be able to get the traction that's needed to try and get a breakthrough. The only chance we've got of getting a breakthrough, and this isn't a judgment against Nick or anybody else, the only chance of getting a breakthrough is with Advance, because they've got the numbers, and the numbers are still growing. But again, it's got to be the way it's got to be done is because we've still got so many people that are just thick and don't get it. We've got to go carefully and go at the speed of the slowest child in the class, so to speak. You know what I mean? But yeah, okay, guys. Well, listen, I'm going to go, and tomorrow at 7 o'clock we'll launch Where Are the Men of England, and then if it goes well tomorrow and I get a decent turnout, or maybe do some more, breakfast videos. See how it goes. All right, take it easy, guys. Have a good day. See you soon.